So in our body, we have a thing called an RAA system, known as our RAAS, I guess, RAAS. That stands for the Renin-Angiotensin-Aldosterone-System. It's kind of a long thing, but once you pick it up, it starts to make sense, and then our electrolytes can then kind of make sense. So it all kind of starts with the hypothalamus. It's going to sense the decrease in your blood pressure. So within this system, our main goal is to get that blood pressure back up. So we have a decrease in our blood pressure, so then that's going to activate the renin within our kidneys. And then when the renin is activated, it's then going to go to the liver and activate angiotensinogen, which is considered inactive, so it's an inactive enzyme. And then once we activate that, we're going to get Ang1, so angiotensin 1. And then it's going to eventually get to the lungs and hit the electrolyte. It converts it into an electrolyte within the lungs, and within the lungs it then can convert it into Ang2, and that's what we want, is Ang2. So with Ang2, we're going to get that massive constriction. So with massive constriction, we're going to have an increase in volume, and an increase in volume, we're going to have an increase in pressure. So another thing is we will have a release of aldosterone, which is in the adrenal cortex, which is a gland that sits kind of up on top of the kidneys. And what aldosterone does is it holds that sodium and water. So I talked about sodium and water, and those two are best friends. So they both don't get to leave. So with those two being held, it then is going to increase the pressure even more, and it's going to increase the volume even more with the constriction. So once we release those two, we're then also going to release an ADH. So that's our antidiuretic hormone, which is in the posterior pituitary gland. And that is something that just holds water. So with that, we're going to have an increase in our volume as well. And with all three of these, it is going to help us increase that blood pressure. So we're finally where we want to be. We had to go through this entire process to get our blood pressure to go back up. So what that does is our blood pressure keeps increasing, and since we're still releasing that aldosterone, we're still releasing the ADH, and we're still having that constriction, we need something to shut it down, and we need something to get us back to where we need to be, into normal area. So what that is, it's going to be our antinatriuretic peptide, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's going to shut aldosterone down. So once it shuts aldosterone down, we can then release that sodium and release that water, so then it can kind of get us back within normal blood pressure ranges. So once we get that released, we then can get rid of our sodium, we can get rid of our water, and that will help decrease that pressure and that volume into a normal area. So we don't want to get back into this, so we have to watch it, but we want to get it where it's in between the high and the low. We want that in between. So that's what the RAAS does, the RAA system. It can be called things. People can consider it a nightclub, I've seen. It's mainly, you gotta understand that it's gotta release these things for us to finally get where we want to get. And then we have to have something to shut it all down. We don't want to continue this mess, and then continuing an increase in the blood pressure can cause further issues. So that's where this important A&P comes into. It'll shut our aldosterone down, so we don't have that increase in pressure and volume anymore. So thank you for listening, and I hope you guys can understand it.